Hello, welcome to the Merriment Making podcast. I am your host, Mary England, and I'm doing a video today to show you what I look like. I'm sick, and this is no makeup, this is no background, this is real. I'm trying. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk to you about the bad stuff that's going on. Uh, Last night. No intro. Last night I was talking to Matt. It was our 4-year anniversary. And we talked about how there's a lot going on right now in my world. And I had posted this simple uh thing on Instagram and Facebook that kind of listed out a couple of the things that I was going through. And I'll tell you what those are today. And there you are. I was looking for you. You only come when I'm doing a podcast. Yeah. Hi, this is Mitzi. Mitzi. She's my little shadow. You always come to wake me up. I slept in a little bit. Did you get your screen time? Can you go back over here on your knitting and your fabrics, please? Thank you. We're not doing any editing today. So I was talking to Matt about how I shared that and how I took it down pretty quickly because of a couple of reasons. And I'm sorry if I cough. It's just happening. So one of the reasons is I shared something about my dad, and I thought maybe that wasn't fair because it's his life. Um, and I also mostly was thinking that he was going to get mad, and he did. He didn't know that I did it, but he preemptively got mad at me. And then I was also feeling like it's just a list of bad stuff. Like, that makes me look like I'm just complaining. I don't like when I get onto social media and it's negative stuff, you know? I'm talking about that with like political stuff. I don't like it when people are, getting on and just saying like, I don't like this, I don't like this, I don't like this, you know? And I guess I'm not saying that I don't like having the flu. I don't like these things. I am saying that these things did happen, but it's still just a negative post, you know? Um, and also in terms of my brand, I want people, I stopped doing sharing things that are more political a bit ago because I didn't think that that was part of my brand, really. I'm only really doing things that are good news. And that's a whole different episode. But for me, I want people to be able to come to my hub on the internet and get a boost. I want them to feel good. I want them to not feel divisive. I want them to be able to like, you know, just feel happy. And if I'm sharing something negative, it's like they can get that anywhere, you know? And also, I don't want the feeling of, oh, she has problems, right? To influence your halo effect, psychological opinion of liking me or viewing me as someone that can help you for a future ability to follow me, to make a purchase from me as a business. Because if I am providing you with value, resources, coaching, etc., there is something in your brain that is going like, well, if she can't get her shit together, then why should I trust her to tell me? And I already have the fact going against me that I'm overweight, working against me all the time in that way. So physically, if I when someone comes to you in a way of like wanting to help you and they present in a physical way that doesn't look like they have their stuff together, even if there's a reason for that, that doesn't matter to our brains. We're like, you can't help me. So I don't want to give additional reasons for that. So that's transparency about all of the reasons why I am not really sharing complaints or real life things. Now, I still will share like positive stuff from my life, but then we get into a highlight reel area, right? A highlight reel, only sunshines and rainbows kinds of thing. And I don't want to be that either. So Matt and I had this like really long discussion about and then and then there's another thing of like, do I my friend talked to me this summer about oversharing and how that's definitely something that I do. And when I do share, and it's a trauma response for sure. It's something like because one of the big things for me when I was a kid is like not being heard, not being understood, always being like everything that I said was not true, even if it was, all these things, right? So one of the big responses to that psychologically is to like basically overfront, like overload, over explain, and provide way more information than you need. And it just translated into being loquacious and talking a lot. And it's something I'm working on, but um, I don't really. I'm still struggling with finding the balance of just saying something that happened and not giving too many details. And there's also something I think with autism with that because like I don't really find like the TMI thing of like, oh, that's gross, that's too much information, that's too personal. I don't have a problem with that ever, really. Like when people are like, "Oh, this might be too much." I've never really had someone say something that was too much for me. So I don't really worry about that, I guess. I only have worried about that as a response to people getting upset, that like masking behavior, the learned behavior. Anyway, so Matt and I were talking and he listened to all of it and then he was like, "Well, I think at the end of it, you kind of need to decide, do you want to be uncustomary or do you want to be Mary?" And I was like, "Yeah, here we are again." So he's like, "There with uncustomary or a brand and you can hide behind everything. And, there's plenty of girls online that, like, they have no idea, they act like they're single and the person taking the photos is their boyfriend. And they go on all these things and they make the perfect angles and their bedroom is a mess and, whatever it is. And like maybe their values don't actually even align in person with who they are as the brand, da 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 da. And then Mary, you're actually extremely transparent and everything that you do is just you talking as a person. And I was like, I want to be both. Like, I want to be a little bit of both. I mean, I tried for a little bit of being uncustomary. I changed my name on everything, even my Hulu account. But after a while, it felt weird. It felt fake. It felt strange because I am Mary. I am a person. I'm not a brand. But I want there to be some sort of balance. I don't want to be one or the other. I follow a lot of people that, you're allowed to do anything you want to do, man. But I like acknowledging that Matt is in my life online. He's a private person, but he doesn't mind if I post him online every once in a while. I like saying that there's real stuff in my life and not only being a brand. And I would not want you to meet me and be shocked, in real life. Um, and so far, I don't think anybody really has. In fact, most of the time when I meet people, they're like, "Oh, this holds up." And people have actually even said that. Whether it's like the physical way that I look, even when I don't have makeup on, like it's not like a full-on catfish. Um, but I think the main difference is that I'm just a little calmer than you would expect. I'm like a little less energy, and I also talk about much deeper, darker things, and I have a really dark sense of comedy. So, but other than that, like, anyway, so I uncustomary versus Mary. I don't know if I want to choose between the two. I think it's good to aspire to be uncustomary, like in a lot of situations. That person is maybe giving the best at work, at the best in street art, like and stuff. But Mary needs to be there in certain situations, like so many situations, even in business situations. Like if I'm doing coaching, there needs to be a hybrid, I think, or even on the street. I don't know. So as always, my answer is so deeply bipolar. deeply hybrid, deeply merged with everything. And there's never been a clear answer for most of the things that I want to do. So I have to make my own. And I love the question though of him being like, do you want to be married or uncustomary? You have to look at that as the template for this. But my answer is what I have to figure out. And that is like, I don't want to be fake. I want to be honest. And I really do appreciate how many people have always told me like they like that I share things about my life. They like that I am honest about things that I'm going through. And I think that I've just been like scared to do that because of the reasons that I mentioned. And also in cancel culture, man. It's insane. And there are things that I know that I am allowed to be private about. I know that. But I don't know. I don't want to invalidate my authority or sound like I'm listing problems. So I just want to preface that here. And I also want to acknowledge that like if you're dealing with that, I think that's fair, even if you're not a business. Um, it's a weird thing to strike. I do want to make sure that when we're talking about sharing things in life in person and on social media that like we want to consider how are we contributing, you know? We don't always have to bring value. Sometimes it's okay to say like I have a headache, but are you posting? I mean, I've followed so many people that just post I have a headache, I have a migraine on social media like 3 times a day, and it's like what are you doing? What are you hoping to gain from this? And I think that was another reason that I realized that I took it down. I was like, what am I hoping to gain from this? Sympathy? You know, what is that? So I don't want that to be the thing. I don't want you to feel like I'm hiding. I don't want you to feel like I'm becoming one of those girls that hides their husband, hides everything, makes everything look edited and professional and glossed. That's not what I want. But I am also growing up and I want to respect the privacy of people. And I like getting into it with my dad before he even knew, he didn't know that I posted anything, but he was like yelling at me about the idea of telling anybody that what happened. And my mom did the same thing. And I was laughing really hard because my mom is like a huge gossip and tells everyone the same story like 60 times. And I was like, me posting about anything that would happen would usually be with a purpose. Um, and even if it wasn't, more people are going to hear from mom. And my mom was taking pictures. Like I was just like, oh my God, the dignity of this is insane, like, or the lack of. But I got mad because I thought, it's back to the misunderstanding with my parents as being kids because they they make assumptions because they don't really understand what I do and they've never really looked or tried. So they have like a couple touch points of like my book, and because they didn't really come off great in my book, they assume that I'm just kind of constantly writing exposés about them. And then yeah. But I guess my point is that just because someone's story is their story, right? And they can ask for what they want. And he did. He said, I don't want anyone to know specifically what's going on with me. And that is okay. And you can always ask for what you want to ask for. And I also told him, you know, that is fair. And what happened to you happened to you. And what happened to me happened to me. I think that this is a really monumental experience. And um, me thinking that my dad is dead and needing to call the cops and having the full experience of the day where I thought my dad was dead is part of my story as well. And he got really angry. And that's okay. We don't have to talk about the specifics of his story. I think that that's where I don't really know what to do because I don't like providing uncertainty. And I know that that's confusing right now to hear because I'm trying to respect him, but I'm also trying to say something bad happened with my dad. It provided me with a lot of stress. And as a result, I am now needing to deal with my mother, who is not someone that she was blocked in our phones, you know? and I'm dealing with her on a daily basis. She lives rent free in my head whenever she's around. She texts constantly, and it's unavoidable currently. It just is, and it's for the sake of him, for my dad. So there's that. There's also the drives there, and to take care of an animal, the cat, who's not doing very well because of being alone. Um, and it's about 45 minutes each way. I'm also sick. I got the flu. Matt got the flu. Mine is lasting longer. I, we know, you probably know, in the fall, I had a surgery for endometriosis. Um, they were supposed to take it out. It's level 2 of 4. Basically merging on 3, because there's two different kinds of the ways that it can be. It can be like kind of just like resting on the top, I guess. It's like scar tissue, and it just lives on like your organs and stuff. But it could kind of just be like here on the top, or it can be kind of like embedded in you. And what my gynecologist did was he assumed that when he did the surgery, that it was all just like surface stuff, and he just burned it off, kind of like shaving, but he needed to wax it because it was embedded. So after the surgery, my pain got significantly worse, which is not normal. You're really supposed to feel significant relief after the surgery. And nobody believed me that the pain was worse. They were all just like, "You're better now, right? Because you did the surgery. What are you talking about?" And everybody thought that I just wanted opiates. Um, and then I got put on this med called Oralissa, and that sucked. It I got every side effect in the book. I had hot flashes, super interesting. Look forward to those. It really is like you're heating up from the inside. Um, I got night sweats. I got my my memory is really poor right now. Um, I got I should probably just look up the symptoms. I got dizzy, I got nauseous, I got the light sensitivity. That was one of the worst things. Oh my God. So it started with me being in stores that have fluorescent lights, and I would just like I would have to like throw up. I didn't know what's happening, but then it translated to screens, and that's my job. So I had to implement all of these like systems and stuff for that. And it's actually been good, because like this blue light thing is pretty good for you. It it mutes all the colors, which is annoying when I'm designing something, but it's good for my eyes. I don't get as eye fatigued anymore. And I don't know, it doesn't matter. I got every symptom in the book. If you look it up, I got them all. It was so much that it was like the pain was worth it. And the pain is intense. And I thought that it was happening when I was ovulating, but apparently because the birth control that I'm on, I don't ovulate, which is so interesting. I still need to look that up. Like, what happens if you're not ovulating? Does that mean that like no eggs come out and they're just like stacked up in the back? So if you're on birth control that doesn't make you ovulate, do you just have you just have all your eggs still? It's very interesting. I don't know. My sex ed was not educational. Our teacher just kind of like talked about her own personal stories the whole time. It made us make board games. Um, okay, so then I kept trying to talk to my gynecologist. He didn't listen. I think there was some pride there of him being like, I did the surgery. You're not going to tell me that I didn't do it right. And we're just going to say that you're looking for stuff. So I put myself on a waiting list to find an endometriosis specialist, and I had to wait a while. And when I got in, she basically told me that everything that my gynecologist was saying was wrong. Um, Including things like I had done my own research and I had asked like should I be doing pelvic floor therapy because apparently like one of the reasons because I can't use tampons anymore and sex hurts. So when anything is inside, your muscles are like contracting and it's because they've been protecting you for so long that it's like this defense mechanism. So it like clamps up and it's been so much worse after surgery, like so much. Um, so I asked, should I do pelvic floor therapy? And most I've heard that that is like more for after you have a baby is to make it tighter, but this is actually to make it looser. So I asked him and he said, no, it's a crock. It's like a hippie thing. Like, don't do it. It's a scam. So I was like, oh, okay. So I listened to all this stuff that he said. He said there was only one medicine, that there's only these things, da 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 da. And then when Orlis wasn't working, he said, just stop taking it. Well, it was working. It was actually taking away the pain. It just was giving me so many side effects that it was horrible. So then he just said, just stop taking it. And then I go to the endometriosis specialist and she says, um, she was like, who is your gynecologist? And I told her, and she goes, she went like that. And I was like, great. And she said it's actually just a lot of the male gynecologists in the area because they don't have the same equipment. And she's like, I don't think it's malicious. I think they have no idea. So she told me that I should absolutely be doing pelvic floor therapy. And she tried different medicines and stuff. And she basically just, everything was wrong. She told me that also that it should have been like excised. I think that's the right word, and not the burned. And that was another reason that I'm probably still having pain because he basically just aggravated it and didn't remove it. So I'm probably gonna have to have another surgery later, but you can't do it like right now. You have to wait like a year at least. Um, okay. So then I start going to pelvic floor therapy. This is wild stuff. I don't know why I thought it was just gonna be like a regular physical therapy. I don't know what I thought we were gonna be doing. It's like a gynecologist appointment. Your pants are off, you're doing stuff like there's just like a girl like in you talking to you. And I've been having so I actually it was at the endometriosis specialist appointment where I had this kind of breakdown. And see, this is where I don't know. Is this too much information? Because I feel like anything related to this is it's related to the inside of me. Like I don't know how to get around this. I don't know. I don't care. Deal with it. Don't listen if you don't want to listen. But I am going to talk about like sexual trauma right now. Um so she had this she was like kind of looking around in there and she said, "This is hurt." And I said, "No." I was like, "It's just pressure." And I always say that. And she said, "Well, is it pain or is it pressure?" And I just started crying. And I realized that I don't know. And I had this like, it's weird. Like I've had so many, so many near-death experiences. Like I've used up multiple cats' 9 lives. And I've never had that like that classic, my life went before my eyes thing. But this was weird. It was like a slideshow of moving backwards in my life of different guys and different experiences. And I went back to like the first and I realized that it's always felt like what she was doing. And it never really felt good. And I just assumed because it's connected to something that's supposed to feel good. And there's a lot of other things that are going on, like your kiss, you know, someone's liking you. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's hormones, all of this stuff that that felt good too. But it didn't. And I realized that all the times that I thought sex felt good or anything, related, it didn't. Um, and that pressure that I've been referring to is pain. And I just haven't really delineated the difference. And that opened up this weird wormhole for me. And I started understanding why it took me 10 years to have an orgasm after I was sexually active. Um, I started understanding why I got into BDSM. I started understanding a lot of stuff. Why my pain threshold is so high. And it makes sense that it hurts down there. I have a lot of physical things. Like my uterus is tilted. I have endo. There's like she even the endo sorry, the pelvic floor specialist, she even found like some specific spots. Like there's these bones. One of them straight up sounds like a dinosaur. I can't not laugh when she tells it to me. That are like it's a little weird. So it makes sense, but it's just very interesting that all these things that were supposed to feel good have not. And then combined with um actual forced entry and um manipulation, conning, aggression, violence, and all those things on multiple occasions with multiple men um has been a lot. And I've been doing the pelvic floor therapy, and it's kind of just unraveling a lot of that for me. And I'm already prone to like I've been dissociating since I can remember doing it when I was 6 the first time. And I have all those like the dissociative fugue and the PTSD. Those are all like dissociation things. But any sort of flashback is a dissociation. Anyway, that's been difficult. And we're only at the beginning. I have like 28 more um classes. Hmm. Yeah. All right. So what else is going on? We're only in it. We're in too deep now, baby girl. All right. The economy. All right, no. But really, it's bad right now. The money is sucks. And I remember when I was a kid, my mom's a massage therapist, and I remember there being times where the economy really sucked and she wasn't working as much because people would cancel their appointments because if you don't have money, one of the first things to go is something that people consider to be a luxury, you know? When you're budgeting, you're going to cut a massage. And you're also going to cut your self-love stuff, right? At the beginning of the year, I had a lot of people stop stuff. A lot. A lot. And I'm very proud of them for knowing what to do and taking care of themselves. Um, but right now I'm having a hard time taking care of myself. And the, I mean, that's just what it is. Like I do something that is, it's not at the bottom of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's like the third level. So if you're struggling, you're going to take it off your budget. And I understand that. And we're also in a time where people feel overwhelmed in general. So taking on something doesn't feel fun or like an option. I've been trying to come up with additional ideas, additional resources, things that only take 5 minutes, things that are more connection based, things that are more art based. And I've got something more coming, some more ideas coming that are like anti self-help, more underground ideas that I'm very excited about, but they all take time. They all take time to create, to build, to launch. And I'm exhausted. I'm absolutely exhausted. Like this was my to-do list yesterday. And after Matt got home and we talked, I was like, okay, I have to go back to work for a little bit. And I was just preparing the Marriott Mondays Live episodes for the next month. And I mean, it's not like I had to do the scripts. I had to put them up for like connect the live streams and make the graphics and the newsletters and the descriptions and all these little things. And it was only for 4 episodes, but it took me like almost 2 hours. And then I was like, hey Matt, come watch. I want you to come watch what I get to cross off after I did all that. You want to see? And he goes, okay. And I just crossed off one line. And he was like, really? And I was like, yeah, each of these things takes that long. It's not like I get to do like make a call, cross it off. Like every single thing on my list is like at least an hour and a half. It's so much. Um, let's see. Yeah. So as a result of that, we are very poor right now. Very poor. And like I'm rolling coins poor. Like we don't have heat on poor because this house has oil heat with these like radiators and you have to fill the tank with oil and oil just keeps getting more expensive and it's basically been about $400 every 10 to 12 days to keep the heat on. And I swear the furnace isn't working properly. I'm pretty positive that the landlord paid the guy or just got someone incompetent to say, you have a perfectly good running system. What did he say? A fantastic piece of machinery or something crazy. And I was like, that thing is like 100 years old. And every other person that's been here has said the back is falling off. There were so many days, like the last time we had the heat on, where it would it would get really hot in here. And it was like I only had it set to 69, and then all of a sudden it would be 76 degrees in here. And I was like, it's running over. So I don't know. But basically, I'm not spending 400 more dollars to run the heat for 10 more days when it's almost March and we just have some space heaters. But it sucks. And Giuseppe doesn't care, but Mitzi does, and she's upset. And she basically just lives in front of the heater all day. I feel terrible. I feel like a horrible person. Um, and it's like a little reminder that things aren't going well all the time, it's just there. But yeah, I am trying very hard. I am not giving up. I am continuing. I am looking at things from different angles. I am very much trying. And that's a huge stress. Money is a huge stress. And yeah, yesterday was our anniversary, 4 years, and we didn't do anything because we are exhausted from working constantly. I even signed up for DoorDash. Like that's where we're at. Okay. Um, and we have no money. And I had diarrhea all day yesterday. Like just, you know, that's what happens to me usually when I get emotionally distraught. Like really, really bad. Like not every time. Like I'm talking about like when I go through a breakup. And it's weird because I don't feel like I don't feel like I'm on the couch depressed or anything like that. And I'm wondering, is this because I'm jaded now? Or is this because I have coping skills? Maybe it's a little A, a little B, but my body is still definitely experiencing it. And oh, something else it was actually really validating at the endometriosis specialist. Oh no, not that. The physical therapy, pelvic floor. She's like working on me and they know so much how the body is connected and everything. It's wild. And she goes, yeah, I'd actually really like to um, incorporate some TMJ work for you. And I was like, how did you know? Because she hasn't touched my face at this point. And I was like, how did you know that I need that? And she goes, oh, do you not grind your teeth? And I was like, um, no, I do, incredibly. They've had to do like an MRI on me because they thought that I had like crazy ear issues, but it's because I grind my teeth so much that it just creates pressure and I'm just grinding them into oblivion and nothing, like I take the mouth guard out every time, every night. And she goes, yeah, of course. And I was like, of course what? She goes, you, she keeps like saying it like I'm dumb. It's like not in a mean way, but it's just like, she goes, you've had this for 20 years. You've been in pain for 20 years. This is what happens. You grind your teeth. Like you have to put it somewhere to go. You have to have somewhere to put it. Like, it's like stress. And I was like, oh, she's like, you think you're the only one? People with chronic pain like do this. And it made me feel really good because I feel like sometimes like because pain is so subjective, I guess. It's something that you can't know. Like you can claim that you're in pain and no one can know. You know what I mean? And I was so terrified before I got that surgery that they weren't going to find anything. And then even after the surgery, I was so scared that I'm still making this up because I'm in pain all the time. All the time. I'm in pain all the time. I've just stopped talking about it because it's boring. And I'm still working 10-hour days. And it made me feel really because sometimes I worry that I'm making it up. I swear. I'm just like, is this in my head? And I don't know, there's something about I mean, obviously I've seen the endo, I've seen the pictures, I've seen the extraction. So something about the jaw that made me be like, it makes so much sense. That's why I'm grinding my teeth. Because it's constant. It's throughout the day. It's just constant. Okay. I think that's enough. Um, Flu, dad's in the hospital, heat's off, broke, endo, trauma flashbacks, no money. People aren't buying stuff for themselves, overwhelmed, looking for different ideas for products. Have a lot of them, need time to implement them. To-do list is long every single day, working 10 hours, constantly in pain, didn't get to do anything for our anniversary because we're broke and I had diarrhea. I think that's good. Um, Moving forward, yeah, I am excited about um the new stuff, like the underground stuff, the anti-self-help, the basically approaching stuff from the feeling of everything sucks. What are we gonna do? So stay tuned for that. And in the meantime, if you want to check out, if you just right now, I made it so there's like these little buttons on the main page. Uh, if you scroll down on uncustomary.org and you scroll down, there's this like, how can I help you? So there's like 4 buttons, and it's like if you want like a quick fix, so to speak, if you want something that's more structured as a program, if you want something that is more long term. And then if you want something that's like out in the real world, whether that's like a physical product or if it's, an event. So I think those buttons can really help simplify what it is that I'm currently offering. And yeah, and then I'm always like, posting on Instagram and social media. And we have the Merriment Mondays live every other Monday on YouTube and the podcast every week on Wednesdays. So those are free and enjoy those. I love you. I hope this was helpful. If you, I mean, just to understand what's going on here, to know that if you're struggling, you're not alone. I feel like everybody's struggling all the time. Um, I do want to be clear that like, I think that being, I've always said that being a merriment maker, a happiness coach, like, I think you want someone with depression that has a history of it anyway. Because like you don't want someone that is you don't want an AA coach that's never struggled with addiction, right? So I think it's great that people have these stories where I read this book, I took this program, I had this mentor, I heard this quote, and it changed my life. And that was it. From then on, I was different. That's fantastic. It feels incredibly unrelatable to me, but um yeah, that's not me. That's not my story. And the the concept of like you're never going to have another challenge, you're never going to have another adversity is it's almost patronizing to me. Like whenever I go on podcasts and have interviews and stuff, they're like, "Okay, so what was the one thing that you did?" And I'm stopping, like I usually go to cognitive behavioral therapy because that was the like catalyst for the beginning. But the reality is that there are so many moments that continue to be the thing. There are so many different kinds of things that re-spark you. You have roller coasters of life, ebbs and flows and valleys and all those things, right? It's just life. It's constant. So you need new moments. You need new sparks of inspiration. I I mean, I guess there's a quote or a book that you can continue to refer to for the rest of your life and never falter. Like meaning that you have that thing in the back of your mind and then a new thing comes up and you apply that control alt to this new situation and it works for every single one. But one, I don't think that there's anything that works for everything. I think we need a bunch of tools in our toolbox. And two, I don't think there's anyone ever that has been like, oh, well, I have all these things happening at once, and it's going to be super easy for me to just be like, oh, remember the program that I took? Fantastic. Like, I'm going to be able to deal with all of these things. And sometimes when it rains, it pours, like, sorry, I couldn't wait anymore. Sometimes when it rains, it pours. And you're going to have an emotional reaction. The people behind me, like last month, at 6 in the morning, a power line fell onto their house and set fire. And some things just aren't your fault and they're going to create an emotional response. Yes, it is our decision how we respond to that. 100%. Absolutely. But you're allowed to have a human reaction to it. I don't think there's anyone except maybe a monk, and maybe that monk is lying when they're like, it just is. Look at this power line burning up all my things. How interesting. I would argue that maybe that's apathy as well. I would rather have somebody that's passionate and cares than somebody that's just like, hmm. So, yeah, I don't think that it's normal, human, let's say, to have this many things going on and just be like, do, 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 do. Remember that cool quote I heard 20 years ago? I'm just gonna control alt to apply it. Like, no, I think sometimes you have to go through it. And we can't I think I'm going through it better because of the programs that I've gone through, because of the tools in my toolbox. I'm not losing my mind every single time when I think about something. I'm not having panic attacks. I'm not losing my shit every single time. That's true. That is true. I'm handling it better. And that is something to notice. But when so much stuff happens, or even one humongous thing happens, you're allowed, it's normal. Oh my God, sorry. Blow your nose on a podcast. Is that what you wanted? ASMR? Oh, this is going to be on a weird site. That's got to be a porn. Um, you're just allowed to be human and to take it hard. The point is that we don't let it ruin us. It's like, yeah, everything sucks right now, but no, it's not going to last. And know that we are continuing to look for solutions to feel good in the moment whenever we can and to do something in the future, right? So like let's break this down. Let's make this helpful in some way instead of me just being fucking ranting. Um so like the flu, okay. Technically something that you can't control. I mean, we can be proactive with like hand sanitizer and washing hands and stuff, but okay, it's happened, it's here. What can I do in terms of making it go away? Taking medicine, setting alarms, being proactive, looking up exactly what I need to take, looking at the exact symptoms, Sudafed, Dayquil, Benadryl, vitamin C, vitamin D, all the supplements, the medicine, and then actually continuing to take them at the appropriate times, and anything else, right? And continuing to do that past when you feel like you might be getting better, right? With my dad being setting a time schedule for taking care of the cat, visiting him, creating contacts with a caseworker and the next place that he's going, making lists of things that we need, going to get the stuff, all of that, asking for help when we don't know, seeing if there's anybody else that can help take care of stuff. I'm going to be a little bit more vague with that one. With the heat, we made a decision. Instead of scrambling for $400 every 2 weeks, we are just leaving it off and we are using space heaters. And knowing that I mean, if we lived in Alaska, we would have done something different where it's cold all the time, right? I guess it's not cold all the time. If we lived in if we lived in a place where it was cold all the time, we would have done something different. But um it's not. It's gonna be warm in like a month. So we're just dealing with it for right now. And in terms of the endometriosis, I took steps to not feel like I was crazy. I put myself on a wait list and I still had to wait that out. And I talked to somebody else and got a different opinion. And then from there, I took her advice to see what I could do next. And I went to the pelvic floor therapy. And then I am dealing with the repercussions of that now. And that looks like being quiet and what they say, holding space. Like sitting with a feeling and not avoiding it is one of the harder parts of emotional processing, because we avoid, really that's actually all of this. We want to avoid stuff. We want it to go away. We want to just not deal with it. We want to not pull the curtain out and see what's behind it. But it's not going to be pretty back there. It might even look like a hoarder's nest, but it's not unfixable. It's not unorganizable. It's not undoable. It's just not. It is. It's doable. And it might not ever look like it did before, but you can make it look better, make it feel better. And it's just step by step, rock by rock. And the feeling that you get when you pull back that curtain is that anxiety, that overwhelm, that dread, right? But what you're doing by prolonging walking up to that room and pulling the curtain back is creating more anxiety, creating more anticipation and more dread. And it's kind of like the difference between like when I thought I had a brain tumor, and at first I had no idea. And then I go to the doctor and he says, you have to wait. You have to get you probably have a brain tumor. You shouldn't have said that. And then you have to get an MRI to make sure. And then I had to wait between that moment of him saying, you probably have a brain tumor, for 2 weeks to find out what the diagnosis was from the MRI, right? So the 2 week anticipation period is the worst period, because you're like wondering, you're going through all of these what ifs and crazy thoughts and da 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 da, worst case scenarios, and that period, right? And then when you get the results, it doesn't even matter what they are, right? It does. Of course, you want it to be negative. You want it to be, well, a good outcome. You want it to say you don't have a brain tumor. But after that 2 week period, I was like, honestly, I'd rather know that I have one and just find it out. This period sucks. I wanted to be able to plan. I wanted to be able to do something. I hated that ambiguous, looming period. And most people do, but what you don't realize is that you are creating that 2 week waiting period for yourself so often every time you refuse to address your own issue. Every time you put off looking at your bank account or taking medicine or going to the doctor or making a new business plan or addressing what's not working or having the conversation with your partner or doing something off of your to-do list or sitting with the big feeling that you have as a result of a flashback that you had or whatever it is, right? So yeah, it's gonna suck once you get the diagnosis, and even if it says it's horrible, but now you can sit with it. That overwhelming feeling can only last like 90 seconds at most. At most. Like physically, scientifically, I think it's even less technically. It's like it goes through us in like 10 seconds. But if you, even if you're just having like a hard time really, really, really embodying it, a minute and a half, you can handle a minute and a half of intense pain, emotional intense pain. You can. You have done so much worse. I know you have. So imagine that that's all that it can do. That's all it can do to you, to let it pass through you. You can do that. What if you just sat with it? What if you on purpose put it on your schedule? Gonna sit with that feeling. And then you create that anticipation period, and then maybe you just move it up and you do it now. But it needs to get done. That's the problem. It needs to get done because if you don't do it, it turns into an abscess emotionally, spiritually, maybe physically. Okay, so the point was that we're not avoiding any of these things. We're doing something about them and we make a plan for them. And yes, you are absolutely allowed to feel beaten down and insane and overwhelmed and jaded and all these things about all this, whether it's a long list or one big whopper. And I want you to continue to look for the little moments where you can laugh. Don't be like, well, I can't laugh. I can't have a good time because this is going on in my life. That's silly. You're allowed to have fun, even in like 30 seconds. You're allowed to laugh at a video. You're allowed to laugh with your friend. You're allowed to be inappropriate and be silly. And you don't have to initiate it, but you can too. You're allowed. And if it doesn't, if nothing feels funny yet, that's okay too. But don't like push it away, you know? Don't push away fun. And I think taking some sort of sense of control and making a plan to think about what will this look like for me? What is, this is hurting because why? What is this problem feeling? I don't like this and it's making me feel this because I don't like this. So what is it that you do want out of it? You know? What is it that you want to feel instead? We know so often it's so easy to say, I don't like this, I don't want this, I don't want to feel this, but tell me what you do want. I think it's a really good balance of just figuring out like, hey, this sucks. I don't like this. I'm allowed to feel it. But figure out like what is a good amount of time for you to, I don't know. Grief is a funny thing. Grief can last forever, but your life does too. So at what point do you want to come back and participate alongside the grief? You know? Like I basically kind of realized that maybe what if this pain just doesn't go away, in my body? And I'm basically kind of having to grieve the fact that that is who I am now. And the body that I had that didn't have this level of pain is no longer. And now I have pain. So what if it just never goes away? Does that mean that I'm just gonna sit here every day and make an excuse to never, ever, ever do anything? Or am I gonna find a way to be who I can be now alongside the pain? And I think that's kind of what we do. I think that's what merriment making is, Like maybe it means that you miss someone. Maybe they're dead, or maybe you're in a relationship without them. And it's really, really hard to keep going without them. But your life will keep going without them. So you sit for a long time and you sit with the feelings and you're allowed to just be there. And then maybe think about what it is that you don't like about this feeling, about them being gone. What did they leave that you want to make sure is still there? And how can you create that with this new version of you that exists as it is today? And how can you keep living alongside the grief? It's different after you pull back the curtain, but it's not undoable. I am a hybrid of Mary and Uncustomary, and I am here. And I'm signing off. I love you. You got to feel good first before you do good.